Welcome to Talkin' Fly Guys with Travis. I'm your host, Travis Ballinghoff. This podcast, I will be bringing you guys my analysis and opinions on the Flyers, as well as providing some unique interviews. This week's guest, Chris Maher. Chris covers the Flyers through Flyers Nitty Gritty, and he also does a lot of stuff on his own socials and YouTube channel. He'll be coming on to give his analysis on the Flyers' performance so far this season. So last time I spoke to you guys, the Flyers just wrapped up preseason. It was very inconsistent, but now we're 10 games into the regular season already, and they have a 6-2-2 record. They just had a big win against the Capitals in Washington last night. So far, besides there was a game in Calgary, they lost 4-0. It was the last game of a Western road trip. Besides that game, I think they've played very well so far this regular season. The goalies have been great. The defense is playing as a five-man unit. Provorov and Braun have been excellent together. Ryan Ellis has been injured, but the games he played, he's been as advertised. The second pair with Sanheim and Ristolainen, I think they started out very inconsistently. Like they'd have a great game and then a bad one, great game, bad one. And I mean, that's kind of been Sanheim his whole career now with the Flyers, but as a unit, I think they've played very well together the last couple of games. Their top two lines have been phenomenal, to be honest. Last podcast, I told you guys I thought Giroux looked great in camp and preseason. And I mean, I guess that really shouldn't be a surprise, but he is 33, and eventually Father Time's going to catch up to him. But he's looked great in the regular season. What I saw in training camp and preseason has held true. Their third line, JVR Lawton and Oscar Lindblom, they're doing great in chances and zone time. They're just kind of snake bitten right now, even though Scotty's gotten one as of late. And the fourth line, they've provided energy. Aubé-Kubel's kind of taken some penalties, but I really like McEwen's game. I really like Thompson's game. The team, they're playing well, and I mean, not that it matters a ton at this point, but 10 games in, we got 70 to go, but they do have a playoff spot, so that's cool. They've also weathered the storm through injuries. Their second-line center, Kevin Hayes, is hurt. Their first pair, right defenseman, Ryan Ellis, is hurt, and then Wade Allison's also hurt. Ellis did play a few games. Hazy hasn't played yet. Neither has Allison. Kevin and Ellis should be back soon, hopefully. We're not sure about Allison, but if they can get Hazy back, and I mean, nothing against Nick Seeler, but they really need Ellis back. If they can get them guys back soon, that would be a big boost. But right now, I think is a good time to bring in our guest of the week, Chris Maher. My buddy Chris Maher covers the Flyers. He does some stuff with the Warriors. He works for Flyers Nitty Gritty, and he does some stuff for his personal content. How you doing today, Chris?
Travis, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on. So pretty much I'm a YouTuber, podcaster, writer, content creator, whatever you want to call it. I started with YouTube when I was, say, 11. It was 2014, and when I started, I kind of just would record videos, game recap videos, from talking about Flyers games. Recorded them on my iPod. And I had a whole series of them on there. And when I had the series of them, I was like, should I upload one? Should I not? I kind of had the thought of making a channel and everything from Steve Dangle, who's very popular for doing Leafs videos and recap videos and stuff. So I decided, hey, what the heck, and let's try it out. So I did it, posted one, got absolutely blasted by it, from kid from school and everything. Just absolutely tortured.
Right, I've been there before.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, I didn't care. I was young, and
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't do it too much, as much after that. I kind of, not because of that, but I just, didn't really. I didn't watch every game or had the time to do every video, if I had sports or anything like that when I was a kid. So a lot of things kind of go into watching the team. As of now, basically in 2019 was when I got an interview with the media, Philadelphia sports media company. They wanted to do a Flyers podcast, yada, 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 that whole thing. Did a whole interview with them. There was a bunch of people they had asked and tried to pick and reached out to. And they ended up picking me and my partner now. And we've been doing it since. And that was the start of the 2019-20 season. So I've pretty much been doing this full time. I guess full time, yeah. Since the 2019-20 season, right around that off season, going into that season, and from so on. So this is pretty much my third year of covering the Flyers. As you mentioned, write for Flyers Nitty-Gritty, which is a site that's credentialed with the team, so it has media access and everything. And that's with Jamie Bascow and Yuri Wallet. They're fantastic, do great work. And obviously Travis, who I saw today from Flyers Warriors. I cover the Warriors through my own kind of thing. Travis, you could do something similar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty similar, but overall it's been fun, and I'm excited to talk with you.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me. Before we get into how the Flyers are doing this year, where can the listeners follow you at?
Yeah. So my Twitter is at _ Chris Maher. My Instagram is FlyersMania93. YouTube is the same thing. And Facebook, if you use Facebook, it's just Chris Maher, just my name.
Awesome. I guess we're 6-2-2 now, 10 games in. How would you assess the season? It's a short sample size, but we're 10 games in. How would you assess it as a whole so far?
I feel like the Flyers are trending in the right direction. They're if there's anything that's main standout points that are a lot better than last season, it's obviously the goaltending has been a lot better. And I talked about that many times. The goaltending last season, I don't necessarily blame Carter Hart or Brian Elliott for really many of those. That was the defense in front of them, the Flyers' team defense. They've defended the middle of the ice a lot better. Last year, they were just essentially every game they were giving up a prime quality. I mean, Travis, you know this. They were giving up, scoring chances left and right in front of the net. Hart and Moose were just left out to dry at that point. So they've defended that area a lot better. Obviously, with the additions of Ryan Ellis, Rasmus Osterleinen, you add more physicality. Zach McEwen as well. We pick him up off waivers. It's a new-looking Flyers team, and obviously Atkinson has been scoring goals. And it sucks right now, because you don't have Ellis, you don't have Hayes, but the Flyers are still finding ways to win. And as you said, it's a small sample size. 10 games into a year, but being pretty fair to the same start that they had last year, they're very similar. I think they actually might have been the same record. I think we're 7-2-1 in the first 10 games of the season, so just one win better. But I think the Flyers have they have a very tough month of November coming up.
Yeah, big time schedule
and things like that. Yeah. So I think if they can just kind of keep playing the way they're playing and take care of business, you beat Arizona and you only get a point out of Pittsburgh, but it was kind of a rough game. But last night they were able to pick up 2 points and they get 3 out of a possible 4 on a road trip. And now you got one home game against a good team in Toronto who's been playing well recently, and now you have another back-to-back, which they have many of those this year, 16 in total. So it should be fun. But as you said, a 10-game sample size, I think they look pretty good. If there is anything that they could improve on, and obviously second periods they want to get better at. Yeah. I think that started last night. They had easily their best second period of the season so far against Washington.
And Washington's the best second period team in the league, so that was really good to see. Yeah,
exactly. And the Caps are obviously missing a few guys. Oshie, Backstrom, and Mantha were all out last night. So that was huge, and obviously it took a lot away from their power play. But one thing is the Flyers have been pretty disciplined in the last handful of games. They didn't take any penalties against Arizona. I believe only 3 against Pittsburgh and then 3 against Washington.
Yep.
They were able to kill off all of them. So, for the most part, a lot of things have gone well for them. Hopefully that can, continue in these handful of games going up.
Yeah, even talking about the penalties, kind of pre-gaming with my friend, like I thought it was going to be like high scoring, lots of penalties. Because like the last time we played Washington, even in preseason, it was like late hit after late hit. It was so chippy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was a high scoring physical game, and that was like the most like probably the closest you probably would have saw to the regular season lineup at that point.
Yeah.
The Flyers in the October 2nd preseason game, they played the Capitals at home. That was a very similar lineup to that last game, and they ended up winning that game. Caps had a lot of AHL guys. Flyers ended up losing that game, but yeah, no, for sure. I think Washington's a very good regular season team. We know that obviously their weapons they have, and the guys that fill in for them, their defense is good. They get good goaltending. They score when they can. As I mentioned, their power play, like even last night, you got like just the subs that they had for Oshie, Backstrom, and Mantha.
Yeah.
That, Sheary and Wilson, Kuznetsov, Carlson, Ovechkin, that could be a number one power play unit if you wanted to be on another team. So right then and there, it's like it just shows how good the Capitals are, and they're so lethal. And but yeah, no, it's going to be a dogfight till the end of the season. I mean, this Metropolitan Division looks good, and really is not a bad team in it. Teams are still in the fight, and regardless of who the Flyers have on the schedule, it's just you want to be able to pick up points, as many as possible. So, again, it's a long season, and there's a lot of things that go into it, and obviously injury in the other teams and all that stuff. But Flyers just really have to maintain their game and keep playing. I think if they keep playing the way they're playing, especially this month, I think they'll get right back on track to where they were in the 1920 season. If you remember that year and recall the month of November, they actually were the best team in November that year and had 23 points in that month. And they were just on fire. And that was one of the best months I had seen them play, probably closer to the 90 winning streak that they had going into COVID and everything that kind of, messed with the NHL and really the whole world at that point. But yeah, I think if the Flyers can just kind of keep that going, and I know I'm kind of rambling, but they kind of keep that going, and we'll see what happens.
Right. A little bit ago, you mentioned Martin Jones. I'd say I was a little worried. He was like the one off-season move that I was kind of like about. But he's definitely surprised me so far. Is he your biggest surprise this season?
I think he's one of them. I'd say Jones is up there. I'd also, obviously, Atkinson's been a big one that I don't think many people expected him to be, so hard off the hop. But yeah, for sure. I mean, he's 3-0-0. I think the last time I checked, he led the league in save percentage and was second in goals against average.
Yeah, I think he's rocking a 950 right now.
There was a couple more games. Yeah, especially because there was a couple more games last night, and then also today there was a few games, so that could have changed. But regardless, again, in the 3 games, I was just talking about this on my podcast too, like, in the 3 games that Jones has played, he's only given up 5 goals. And 2 of them were turnovers. 2 of them were some just pretty, weird, lucky bounces.
Yeah.
And the other one was just a mismatch. The Boston game, it was you had 2 turnovers and then a mismatch off an icing from Sanheim. It really wasn't much Jones could do. The Vancouver game was a shot from the point. It was just like a seeing eye shot. Ended up hitting the post, went off of Jones' the back of his skate and just rolled in. And it was right after the Flyers had opened the scoring, 21 seconds into that game, I think. And then last night it was Leeson shot it and it went off of Brown and just literally hopped over and just hit the side of the net. It was the weirdest goal I've ever seen. But the one thing I've loved about him is he's been playing with confidence. He's square to every shot. He doesn't have to make that crazy save that where he's got to move from left to right or whatever, to kind of dive across, anything like that. He's in position. He's making the saves he should be. He's not giving up many rebounds, along with Carter Hart as well. His rebound control's been fantastic, but Jones especially, he's been dialed in. Yeah. And it's been good to see it because they've gotten some big wins behind him, and I think a lot of what the Flyers did last night was because of how good Jones was playing in that.
Right. Do you think there's been any players that have disappointed you so far?
probably Alvin Cabell
Yeah.
is probably the only one. It's with NAK, I think it's more of just getting back on track to what he was doing in 2019-20. It's nothing different of what he has to do or anything he has to change. I think he just takes too many. He's taking too many penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Pittsburgh game, he takes, I believe it was called an interference, where he just kind of punched Freeman. It was kind of like a sucker punch. He was just trying to get around him as he chipped the puck in. He takes a penalty there. Again, it was an offensive zone penalty. He gotten away with a couple of them in the preseason. He had a preseason game where he had 2 penalties in it.
Against the Islanders.
Yeah. So he obviously is taking, if I'm being honest with you, Wade Allison didn't get hurt in that rookie game. I think Allison would have been in his place at the start of the season.
God, yeah.
I think Allison would have been playing already. He would have been playing right now. So that kind of just shows you, I just don't think, like, if I'm being honest with you, I honestly thought before Allison got hurt and the Flyers were kind of stuck with a little bit of cap issue, they were only had, I think at one point I had more money in my bank account than the Flyers had cap space.
Right.
But there was a point where I thought they would actually trade Albin Cabell just because of cap. Like they could have got a pick for him or something. Because another thing that another problem the Flyers have, which is actually a good problem, is they have too many wingers.
Yeah.
They have way too many wingers in the system and prospects and everything, and it's just even on the team. So when you go out and you get guys like Brown, and then you get guys like McEwen, McEwen has been really good in what we've seen from him.
Yep.
He's got more offensive skill. I talked with Craig Eagles, who's a QMJHL scout. He covered Zach in junior, knows him personally, and said he's really just Vancouver made a mistake. And I think that's showing with the Flyers. He's done a lot of good things. The Ford Lines had their moments. They've had scoring chances. They ended up scoring a goal on that Canadian road trip. They've had their looks, and I wouldn't be surprised if McEwen or Thompson gets a goal here coming up. Yeah. Because, again, they've had their looks. As for Brown, I thought he's been everything that they had said Patrick Brown was, he's been doing. And these are guys that can, take Albin Cabell's spot or, switch. And I wouldn't be surprised with the back-to-backs the Flyers have, the tough schedule, everything. And then you also have the Olympic break, too. If the Flyers are trying to keep everything fresh, again, you already don't have your second-line center in Kevin Hayes and one of your best defensemen, Ryan Ellis. You want to keep everything as fresh as possible, which is probably why Jones had started last night and also Brown was in the lineup. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things there. And, overall, it's not that Albin Cabell has been disappointing. I don't want to make it like he's been horrible because I think there's been some good things that he's done. It's just the negative has kind of outweighed the good as of right now. And, again, I still think he has time to change that. And I do like Albin Cabell. I don't want to make it like I don't like him or anything. I like everybody on this roster.
Yeah, it's a fun team.
Yeah, exactly. And you've probably noticed this too, but like they're so just a very tight knit group as a team, and you can see it from the on Friday night they had the team dinner where who has the best trip kind of thing, and that kind of blew up on Twitter and Instagram, and then you saw today a bunch of their Eagles game. Like it just seems like a lot of them are kind of have that camaraderie and like the being a team and being able to go out and spend time with the boys and things like that. And, it's been good to see that.
Yeah. Last question I got for you is, I know there's 6-2-2, and besides really that Calgary game, I think they've looked good in every game this year. Is there anything you'd like to see maybe the coaching staff change as far as lines or maybe the power? I don't really like the power play unit setup they're rocking right now. Is there anything you'd like to see that they change?
I agree. The power play. It's really nothing against what they're doing. I like what they're doing. They're experimenting early in the season, and you should do that. I think that's fine because the power play had scored a couple goals. I think it only had 5, but it didn't score probably as much as they wanted. Giroux on the right side on the first unit, I don't mind. He's used this lap shot a lot this season. He's just been absolutely firing pucks. That's perfect. Provorov at the point, again, don't necessarily hate it because I think Provorov is a top player to play the power play. But Yandel was doing fine in that position, so I don't necessarily understand the move. In the Arizona game, that was the first game we saw those units. Flyers had 3 power plays that game. First power play they ended up using was Atkinson in Giroux's normal spot. And the problem with the first one, and Travis, you were at this game, right?
Coyotes.
Weren't you at this?
Yep.
Yeah, the Coyotes game. Yeah. Do you remember when Atkinson was really low into the zone and
on the goal line?
Yeah, they had him on the goal line. Well, that's not doing anything for him because if you want to put him on the power play, put him in a spot where he's going to shoot the puck.
Yeah.
You can't have Drew and Provorov just playing catch the entire time. I've really liked what they've done with connecting in the slot. He's had his looks there. He's going to heat up. I mean, he's been good 5-on-5, and that line's been good. And a really good game last night. But the second unit, it would be better if you had Hayes and Ellis.
Yeah.
It's Brassard, Restolainen, and Hayes and Ellis. It's obviously the drop-off is here and here with the offensive talent and everything. Again, nothing against those guys. It's just you'd rather have Hayes and Ellis at the lineup.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mind that unit either. I think they haven't really been able to do much, like set anything up. I mean, today was just a skills practice, and tomorrow is their legit scheduled off day.
Yeah.
And they'll get back to practice on Tuesday before Wednesday's game against Toronto. So maybe they change something up there. But if anything, I think the power play that's going to get maybe a little bit of a different look. But again, I do like it because they are experimenting. And they had their looks, but they weren't necessarily getting finishes. And that's kind of what they were doing with Navy and said he wanted to reward guys for their 5-on-5 time to get them more special teams time and things like that. So I understand that aspect of it as well.
Cool. Hopefully they pull out a big win. They got Toronto on Wednesday. Wayne Simmons will be back in town. But that's all I got for you today. I wanted to say thank you for joining me. Make sure everybody follows my man Chris on socials. He was killing it this week at the Warrior Classic, so good job on that.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
A big thank you to Chris for joining me this week. Make sure you follow him on his socials for great Flyers content. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'll be back at you next week with another great interview. I'm not going to spoil who the guest will be, but I promise it's a good one. If you have any suggestions or comments, concerns on future episodes, please contact me on Twitter at TravyBallin26. This podcast was produced by me, and I'll talk to you next week. Go Flyers!
We'll be right back.